Hello, Lao Qi Lawrence McElroy here again with another in our short series, doing a small drill into the 5 root goals of Tai Chi. Regulating the body, regulating the breath, regulating the mind, regulating the Qi, and regulating the spirit. Today we're on number 4, regulating the Qi, Tyau Qi. It's been said that where the mind goes, the Qi goes. When the mind is scattered, the Qi is scattered. To me, that sounds like a pretty good reason to have regulating the mind before regulating the Qi. So, what exactly is Qi? In our overview of the 5 root goals, we said that Qi was an intrinsic energy that flows not only through us, but around us. That's a pretty simplistic view of what Qi is. However, it does serve our purpose at this time, so we're going to stay with that. I will, however, mention that Master James Shun of Shun Style Tai Chi and 8-Step Praying Mantis once compared Qi in our bodies to air in a tire. When a tire is fully inflated to the proper amount, it functions fully and properly. So the air is the Qi, ourselves, our body, the tires. So let's keep our tires fully inflated, shall we? That takes us to a point where we have to answer the question, does this stuff really exist? And yes, we get that question at the front of the room. People will understand all the other aspects of what it is that we do and the benefits therein. But when it comes to talking about this intrinsic energy that doesn't really fit anything that they have experienced in the past, questions arise. I always liked a response shared by Bill Douglas, who is the primary founder of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, in his book, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Tai Chi and Qigong, where he writes about a woman who had that particular question. And he pointed out to her that on a subatomic level, our subatomic particles have space in between them. Something has to be holding us together. Didn't really bring her around, but it did move her in that direction. He also uses references to Kirlian photography, which is a type of photography that takes a picture of electrical discharges around different things. The primary example that most people see of this kind of photography is of a leaf. Before a small piece is torn away, and then after a small piece is torn away. And it's the after photo that's interesting because it shows the same basic pattern of electrical impulses as a whole leaf. They also use this kind of photography around people's hands. And there's a marked difference between somebody's hand who is, just shows up and had a couple cups of coffee versus someone who has been practicing meditation or Qigong or energy work-based exercise. So you just have to accept that Qi exists. I remember the first time that I experienced Qi at Black Dragon School, more years ago than I would care to imagine. It was at a particular point in a particular exercise. And it was years before I felt my Qi again in that particular exercise at that particular point because I had an expectation. And it took a while for me to learn to let go of that expectation. Once I did, I could feel it again at that same point. They say that it'll take 5 or 10 years of practice before you feel your Qi for the first time. And then another 5 or 10 years before you actually believe that's what you felt. So let's talk a little bit about the pathways of Qi in the body. Now, there are many meridians linked to different organs that thread through the body. We're only going to talk about 2 views here in this particular overview. And one we've mentioned in the past, the image breath in a previous video. The image breath that starts in the belly, the Shia Dantian, not the acupuncture point on the surface of the belly, but the actual esoteric vessel in the body, in the pelvic bowl. And it's from that particular esoteric vessel that on our internal exhalation, it's as if a flower is opening up and spreading through the body to the extremities. And on the internal inhalation, the petals slowly draw back into the belly. And just like our simplistic view of qi in general, that's a pretty simplistic view of grand circulation. But again, it serves our purpose. There's also small circulation, and small circulation refers to the yin conception vessel and the yang governing vessel. Now, there are differences of opinions, and different lineages have different points of view. I will be sharing our point of view as to what points begin and end the yin conception vessel and the yang governing vessel. Now, to us, the yin conception vessel begins at the foundation or the bottom of the mouth and follows a pathway that matches the center line. So through the center of the chest, through the solar plexus and the acupuncture point, at the acupuncture point for the Zhangdanxian, or the middle field of elixir, across the belly, down the center line, past the pubic bone, through the Hu Yin, the bottom of the C at the perineum. That is where some people will stop the yin conception vessel. We go beyond that, beyond the bottom of the C, beyond the perineum, up through the vertical smile, just above the top of the buttocks, but below the acupuncture point for the Ming Men, the gate of life on the lower back, is where we view the yin conception vessel ends and the yang governing vessel begins. Other people use the actual Ming Men acupuncture point, which for us is on a point on the spine that's equivalent to where we place the acupuncture point for the Shiadantian, the lower field of elixir, on the belly. So anyway, from that point, slightly above the buttocks, the yang governing vessel passes up the body on the center line, up over the top of the head, the bakuei, the crown point of the head, down through the center line at the front of the face, and ends at a point on the roof of the mouth. So the yin conception vessel begins at the base of the mouth, and the yang governing vessel ends at the roof of the mouth. This is why we want to allow the tip of the tongue to rise to touch the roof of the mouth as we practice. Our acupuncture point, where we place the tip of the tongue, is actually on the hard palate, just behind the upper teeth, where it is natural for the tongue to float up. Others place the point where the tongue should touch on the soft palate. And for us, that creates too much tension and actually works against a smooth connection between the yin conception vessel and the yang governing vessel. Now, the primary way that we view the flow between these two vessels, the yin conception vessel and the yang governing vessel, is through the yin conception vessel and up the yang governing vessel. So it's forward, down, backward, up, forward, down, backward, up. Now we can reverse that pattern, but our primary way is in that particular orbit. So how do we start to feel if we're focusing on moving the qi in either the grand circulation or the small circulation patterns? How can we do that? Imagery helps. The flower opening in the belly, for instance, in the grand circulation. And if that doesn't work for you, imagine a color that expands from the belly out to the extremities. It can be whatever color you want, with whatever you connect. And then on the inhalation, the color slowly is drawn back into the belly. And the yin conception vessel to the yang governing vessel. Just see that color move around. Image a pebble, a planet orbiting on that pathway. All of these images can be a pathway to actually starting to move the qi and then eventually feeling the qi, like a fish or a snake under the skin. To explore the circulation of qi through the body, I do have a couple of book recommendations for you. A very good one is Ted Kapchuk's The Web That Has No Weaver. Wonderful book, well illustrated, well explained. A little bit meatier is Tai Chi Chuan and Meditation by Tyau Qi. But again, another good book. So, our cultivation of qi in our body actually begins simply by playing our Tai Chi floor exercises and forms. Why is that? Well, when I talked about regulating the mind, I mentioned how some people refer to Tai Chi as moving meditation. Well, for the purposes of Qi discussion and our health, Tai Chi is also moving medication. And what exactly does that mean? Well, the movements of Tai Chi are designed in such a way that with relaxed intent, through the playing of our floor exercises and forms alone, we actually activate acupuncture points and the Qi in the meridians simply by doing the movement. So floor exercises and form play in Tai Chi serve in a way to be acupuncture treatment without the needles. This takes us well on our path of regulating the Qi, of cultivating and moving Qi through the body, of removing imbalances and stagnations and opening blockages. But we can also supplement our form play and floor exercises with Qigong exercises, actual energy work. Now, the list of Qigong approaches to Qigong is astronomically large. So look into what might connect with you. Find a qualified instructor and explore. And that will get you even further on your path to regulating the Qi. There's one last consideration that I want to mention, and that's that we also can have an impact on the health of our Qi through our diet. And there can be imbalances that are identified in that sort of thing that can be addressed through small changes and sometimes radical changes in our diet. And one of the ways to explore better health through food is another book, Paul Pritchard's Healing with Whole Foods. Highly recommended. I don't really have much else at this time, except to tell you that regulation of the Qi is a very important step in this 5-step process of the 5 root goals of Tai Chi, and allows us to then take the final step to regulating the spirit. So as last words of advice, I'll repeat, keep your tires inflated. If you have any questions or observations, share them in the comments below, and we will catch you next time. Thanks.